The solemn ceremonies for Justice Ginsburg stand in stark contrast to the contentious battle between senators over her replacement. Senate Democrats are furious at Republicans' efforts to fill the vacant seat before the 2020 election. They say the GOP is breaking its own rule from 2016 when Republicans blocked President Obama's nomination of Merrick Garland in an election year. The problem is Democrats may not have much power to do anything to stop it. That is because Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell appears to have the votes to proceed regardless of the nominee. Only 2 Republicans oppose starting the process before the election. Utah Senator Mitt Romney was thought to be on the fence, but his decision to back nomination hearings was a big blow for Democrats hoping to keep that seat vacant for the next president. CBS News Chief Congressional Correspondent Nancy Cordes has more.
This vacancy, caused by the unfortunate death of RBG, would lock in this hard right agenda for a generation. For a generation.
Senate Democrats took to the floor for more than 5 hours last night to lay out what they say is at stake for the country.
Let me be clear. The future of Roe v. Wade is on the line. The future of a woman being able to control her own body is on the line.
But in the midst of a global pandemic with more than 200,000 of our loved ones dead from a virus raging out of control, Mitch McConnell and Senate Republicans want to install a justice who will rip that health care away.
Earlier, they delayed Senate business, one of the few procedural tools in their arsenal. If Republicans say they have the votes, is there anything you can do?
We have to go out and mount a case that this country is going to be fundamentally changed by this nominee.
The only thing Republicans seem to be split on is whether to hold a confirmation vote before the election or after.
I hope it happens before the election.
Some people feel like it energizes the Republican base. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Senate Leader Mitch McConnell would only say he's committed to a vote this year.
Early polls show that a majority of Americans disagree with your approach. They want you to wait. Does that give you pause?
Well, as all of us have pointed out, we have an obligation under the Constitution, should we choose to take advantage of it, with a president of the same party as the Senate, to advance the nomination.
The president plans to make that nomination on Saturday.
And now we're going to pick a great woman.
CBS News political reporter Grace Segers joins me now from Alexandria, Virginia. Grace, welcome. Great to have you with us. So, do Republicans fear any electoral consequences if they push for a nomination now?
Well, I think you have Republicans who are locked in tight races who do, in fact, fear some electoral consequences if they don't vote on President Trump's nominee. So you have a lot of Republicans who are locked in tight races who really want to capitalize on the Trump base turning out and assisting them. So I'm thinking of Senator Martha McSally of Arizona, for example. She's struggling against Democrat Mark Kelly. And for her, it might be helpful if she could point to a vote for President Trump's nominee. On the other hand, you have Republicans like Senator Susan Collins, who is also trailing her Democratic opponent. And she has said that she is against voting on a nominee before the election. So it kind of goes both ways, depending on the circumstances of their race.
So is there anything current Senate Democrats can do to block or delay a court confirmation, short of expending a lot of breath trying to convince their Republican colleagues to do so?
Well, there are some procedural maneuvers that they can use. We saw yesterday Senate Minority Leader Schumer used the 2-hour rule to block some committee hearings. This means that if the Senate is in session for more than 2 hours or after 2 p.m., Senate committees can't meet. Now, this made a lot of Republican senators very angry because there were some pretty important committee hearings that were expected today, including one with Drs. Fauci and Redfield in front of the Senate Help Committee. So we saw last night Senator Schumer saying that he would not extend or invoke this rule through today. So yes, that rule can be invoked, but it can cause a lot of chagrin, not only with Republicans, but with members of the Democrat caucus as well.
Sure. So is there momentum among Democrats to take some larger steps down the line? For instance, adding more justices to the Supreme Court if they win the majority after the election?
Well, we saw Senator Schumer tell his Democrat colleagues last week nothing is off the table. And that could indicate that he's interested in pursuing adding additional seats to the Supreme Court. We're seeing a lot of progressives in the party saying that the Supreme Court has lost all legitimacy. It's basically a political arm, and that adding seats would bring some of its legitimacy and bring a balance back. Senator Ed Markey has come out in support of adding some seats. We've also seen Congressman Jerry Nadler, the chair of the Judiciary Committee in the House, saying that's something he's willing to consider. So yeah, I do think we're seeing some movement. And if the Democrats take the Senate, don't expect this topic to go away.
Right. All right. Separately, Grace, House Democrats have reached a deal with Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin to avoid a government shutdown. Can you tell us what this agreement includes?
So at first there wasn't a deal, and it seemed like a vote may or may not be happening. But then, as you said, Pelosi and Mnuchin reached a deal that included funding for farms, which was a key Republican priority, but with some added accountability measures. It also has an additional $8 billion for nutritional assistance, which Democrats can say really helps their agenda to help the children in particular.
All right. Grace Segers, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.